Hey everybody, this is Andrea Paquette, president and co-founder of the Stigma-Free Society. And thank you so much for joining us today. I would really like to welcome our good friend of the society and somebody who I really look up to personally, David Robertson. He is the headmaster at the Queen Margaret School in Duncan on Vancouver Island. How are you doing today?
I am well, Andrea. I'm very well, thank you.
Nice. So I thought, David, one thing I could start with is reading your bio. Sound okay? It's a little lengthy, but I think it's really important to really share about your life and some of the positions you've held and what you're doing right now, okay?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So David was born and raised in Edinburgh, Scotland. After completing his MA at the University of Aberdeen and his teaching degree from Loughborough. How do you say that?
That's Loughborough.
Okay, I'm not even going to attempt. You just said it, so that's good enough. It's in England. He began his teaching career in 1978. Heavily involved in sports all his life, David was a member of the Scottish national rugby squad. I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, that's really neat.
Walk properly these days, right?
Wow, amazing. For a year and a half before injury cut short his playing career. After 11 years of coaching and teaching English and French in Scotland, David and his family moved to Vancouver Island in '86 at Brentwood. In '93, he moved over to Shawnigan Lake School, working as deputy head before accepting the position as headmaster. And that was in what year, David?
That was 2000.
Perfect. He brought his 25-year stint of leadership at the school to a close at the end of June 2018. Recently, David returned to school leadership and is excited to be the new head of Queen Margaret School in Duncan, BC. Amazing school. A passionate advocate of character education, David led Shawnigan through a period of unprecedented growth and development, which saw the investment of more than $70 million into the campus. Wow. He has never lost his passion for helping young people to be their best and for education in general. Hence his return into the world of schools. Because you were retired, right, David, after Shawnigan?
Yes, my retirement lasted about 18 months.
Does that shock you or your wife?
No, she was ready for me to return to work, but
okay.
Nice. I figured out after about 8 months into retirement that I wasn't ready for complete.
Yeah, no. And lastly, his guiding light has always been kindness, and his aims have always been to help develop first-class human beings. So that really leads me to an initial question. That's a really cool thing, like first-class human beings. What does that mean to you?
That means really good people who have good values and who treat each other well, really well. I'm such an advocate for people treating each other as with dignity and respect and all those good things, right? I get so upset when I see bad manners and I see sort of uncouth behavior, particularly when it comes from public figures, as we've been subjected to a lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and if we mold these minds young with kindness and anti-stigma approaches and understanding, they grow up to be amazing adults as well, right?
That's it. I mean, I always say to young people when I'm talking to them, and I talk to them a lot, as you can imagine, I always say, you got to treat everybody as a person. And if you look on them as a person, then that means they're made up of feelings and sensitivities and all the features that we would normally associate with a person. So then you start, to me, that strikes a chord. I'm a person, and this individual that I'm dealing with is a person, and therefore maybe I'll extrapolate some of my sort of feelings onto them, and so they have the same expectations of them as they would have of me.
Yeah. And what inspired you to become a teacher initially?
Well, you know, I've always, I'm a people person, and I've always liked being around people, and I think it was through sports really. I started doing a lot of coaching, almost even informally, while I was still playing sports. I found myself gravitating towards helping younger players, younger athletes, and I enjoyed it so much that I realized, well, actually, it took another significant adult in my life to point it out to me and said, you realize that you've got a particular gift in that area and you should actually use it. And I had maybe been aware of it, but I hadn't actually acknowledged it. But then
Okay.
when that happened, that was the beginning of everything for me.
Nice. And how long have you been in education now? Like how many years?
So, wow, that's 42 years.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. You must obviously love it.
I
That is
do.
great. And doing what you love, as you and I have discussed in the past, is so vitally important, which is why I'm really glad that I have my job at Stigma-Free Societies. I love it so much. And obviously you love what you do. But what's your favorite part of being an educator? What is it that lights your fire that's like that passionate piece? I know there's probably many, but is there something that really stands out for you?
There are a whole number of things that I could summon right away, but where I'll go to is helping a kid in need is probably the thing that inspires me the most, right? I love seeing that little light go on in their eyes when they realize that this is somebody that's actually trying to help them, trying to help them figure out some of the many challenges that life can throw at them. But yeah, probably that helping a kid in need is the thing that motivates me most.
Yeah, and making that connection,
Yeah.
definitely. That's awesome. And tell me about your current role at Queen Margaret School in Duncan. I know it's new for you, right?
Yeah, it's a great little school, and I've just, I mean, it's the strangest experience to come in to take over a school at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've come through it remarkably well, and we're not quite through it yet as a society, but we've come through the challenges of getting school back and up and running and everything else. Um, when you're the head of a school like this, you can do the role in any way that you want. And some heads like to sit behind the computer and organize things and so on and so on. I'm not that kind of head. I like to walk around and interact with the kids and the staff
Yeah.
and show up all over the place. And because that's the part that I think I can bring greatest value to everyone is by interacting with them and hopefully having a positive effect on their day.
Well, I've seen like pictures of you with horses. Is there horses there? And there's like so many interactive, amazing things at that school, right?
Oh, brilliant! I mean, I'm a city boy originally, right? So
Yeah.
the closest I'd ever been to a horse was watching a western at the movies. Um, but but suddenly to come here and we've got this lovely, great equestrian program and a facility. We have about 35 school horses and about another 15 horses that kids have brought with them. And so I started going down the equestrian centre to get to know what it was about horses and equestrianism that people liked. And I'm rapidly, completely switched on to the horse thing. I love being around the horses. I find them impressive and soothing and daunting
And therapeutic for the young people, right? Because
and
animals and horses and it can be so like you say, soothing and calming. And wouldn't that be amazing as a student to be able to have that kind of access to animals?
incredible, right? And we're actually developing a program in that realm
Oh
where
wow.
where horses live in the moment, right? They're not sort of caught up in what they did in the past and what's
Yeah.
coming down the pipe in the future and worrying about the future. They're just there right in the moment, and they take you into the moment, and it's got real possibilities for kids and for soothing and calming a troubled mind.
I love that. And I think that really comes to like some mental health therapy stuff, which leads me into the stigma-free conversation. And I was wondering what you do with your staff at, and wonderful Ali, I know as well, over at Queen Margaret. What have you done this year, perhaps, that has been really great for cultivating a stigma-free environment so far?
Well, for me, it's part of it is actually fits perfectly with the culture of the school, right? Because I think schools have a responsibility to create a culture and a really meaningful, positive culture where if you go back to what I said earlier on, where people are treated well and properly and not cast aside or set apart or anything like that. So that culture was already in place here, and all I'm trying to do is make it even better. And the advent of Stigma-Free and the work that you've done with our teachers, I think it just has given us all sorts of further possibilities, Andrea.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things is you're the only school so far who has done a screening of our full documentary.
Yeah.
And so that was really amazing. And I received a bunch of feedback from students, and it was very similar to the type of feedback that we would get from our in-person presentations, which was very encouraging for me, because going virtual for Stigma-Free was like, are we still going to have the same impact? And I really felt with the comments of, I don't feel so alone anymore, or this is very valuable education for everybody to become more understanding, and a lot of comments like that. So thank you so much for screening, to you, Ali, and whomever had a role in that, to bring our documentary to your school, which was really awesome.
Well, no, you're most welcome, and because I know how much they've appreciated it, and it's just the beginning of an ongoing relationship that's just going to get better and better, and of greater and greater value to them, because that's ultimately that's what it's all about. Is if we can bring something important to these young people, then we're doing our job.
Yeah. And do you feel mental health education itself is very important to have in the schools, or what are your views on that?
I think it's hugely important, and I think it's been sadly overlooked over the years in all schools. Obviously, when you're as ancient as I am, you can go back a long way, and it was completely non-existent when I was at school, much to my regret, because I can think back to individuals and situations where if it had just been different, they might have had a different outcome, a different experience, and so on. So I think fortunately now more and more schools are switching on to the importance of it, and it's moved right up the agenda in terms of schools' leadership teams. How are we addressing health and wellness? How are we addressing people's state of mind? How is this happening? So yeah, I think it's a big future for it.
Yeah, no, I feel especially now during these COVID times, mental health is at the forefront more than ever. And at Stigma-Free, with our new student wellness, student mental health toolkit, which we have given Queen Margaret access to as they've brought in our presentations. And we would love to do this with other schools as well. One of the other things I was going to ask you, David, do you have you do have such a wealth of knowledge and history with students. Cultivating stigma-free mental wellness has been a priority for you with your students. I was curious, do you have any advice for other educators in other schools, perhaps, who'd like to grow the character of their students, which has been a priority for you? Do you have any advice for them?
Absolutely. Again, for me, it all comes down to being very deliberate. I think some schools shy away from being deliberate and saying, that's not happening in our school. This is happening in our school. This is what we want to happen. And kids, if you give kids a rationale for anything, for the most part, they'll accept it. Even if they're not overly keen on it, if they can understand the rationale, then they'll accept it. And that's the essence of creating a healthy culture, a positive culture. And I think schools have to take an even greater ownership of the culture. if one kid fails or has a miserable experience or something, then it's a collective failure. That's how I put it to them. I said, we're all in this together, right? We're all mutually interdependent, and we have to look on it that way. So we all have a responsibility for each other.
Yeah, I love that, because it brings it back to the collective, and there's not that person outside feeling alone. And yeah, we could all learn from each other. I think that's a beautiful thing. And when it comes to having a stigma-free zone school, we're very excited to work with your students on an ongoing basis. And wouldn't it be great to have ongoing activities and things that we can do with students who already have come forward at Queen Margaret, actually, a young grade 12 student. And so we're really excited to see what we can accomplish with you and your students at your school. And in your bio, you mentioned that kindness has always been your guiding light. How do you promote kindness with your students and your colleagues?
I think you have to role model it first and foremost, right? People can tell when they're around kind people, and so you have to figure out what that feels like and what it looks like, and then you have to role model it, and then you have to facilitate people's attempts to do kind things. And when you're the leader of the organization, then you have to do that consciously. So you have to let them know that if they've got good ideas that are spreading kindness and so on, that you're going to support them in that. And then that inspires them to actually do stuff that is going to result in kindness. So
awesome.
Yeah, I think but it starts with walking that talk.
Oh yeah, walk the walk, talk the talk. It definitely does, for sure. I guess that's with parents too. I don't have children, but my friend always tells me, well, I have to role model. I have to do what I tell them to do. So I guess it's a similar concept. And I was wondering, how has your school been adapting during these tough times of COVID-19 right now?
Remarkably well, actually, I have to say. Again, it comes down to that business of fairly constant communication, right? I think one of the things that COVID has taught us, and Bonnie, who's on the wall behind me, is such her famous saying up there.
Oh yes.
She has role modeled it for us. She's been calm, she's been collected, and she's been wise, and but she's been constant. And I think the constant communication, both in her role and also in a school, helps to make everybody feel connected and safe.
Yeah.
Because they're not speculating on their own somewhere. They're being told on a regular basis, encouraged on a regular basis, and reassured on a regular basis. So I think that's been the essence of how we've approached it. And I've used everything from live sessions to harder to do that, obviously, because of the spacings and so on. But lots of video. I've done lots of videos and fairly constant emails and messages and so on.
You have some pretty cool YouTube videos. What's your channel?
DBR files on
DBR files.
Yeah,
I love your YouTube. It's you and the horses, and it's great. Do you have one there of you in a Halloween costume too?
Oh hey, listen, who else would I be but Dumbledore, right?
Oh.
I said, well, I've got a layer of silver hair to begin with, so I just need to get the longer silver hair.
I did see the picture you sent me. I thought that was pretty cool.
It was fun. Kids loved it.
Good. That's the whole point, right?
How about the little kid in grade one? One little kid. Liam, his name is Liam. So he gets out of the car in the morning. We do this kiss and go thing where the parents kiss them in the car, and then the kids get out, and it's all very organized. And we're there to meet them, and it's a fabulous way to start the day. Anyway, little Liam, whom I've come to know, gets out, and I'm dressed up as Dumbledore, thinking I'm just really, completely concealed. And he says to me, "Hi, Mr. Robertson," and I said, "I'm Dumbledore," and he said, "No, you're not. You're David Robertson." And I said, "Oh, well, that didn't really work, did it?" He's a good one.
It was good. No worries.
Dear.
Nice.
Good.
Well, I don't know. I feel like we've really gotten to know you, and I thank you for everything you're doing for young people. I know that, you know, having 42 years, right, of experience in this field, you've obviously helped a lot of young people get through a lot of struggles. So amazing. And I was wondering, as a last note, can you share some advice for a young person who may be struggling right now, being somebody who really understands youth and perhaps just needs an encouraging voice?
Yeah, I think in my world, good will always prevail. So if you keep trying to be a good person, you might come up against one or two challenges and one or two disappointments, but you ultimately will. You have to reassure yourself that you will come out of it. You will triumph. You'll get through it, and you'll get to where you want to be and where you need to be. Just it's almost like that sort of irrepressible confidence that I can get through this. I can figure this out, and there are people out there who can help me, can help me to do that. I always feel like with teenagers and young people in general, they're confronted with so many doors, and so many of those doors seem to be closed fast on them, and they're not sure which ones to even try anyway, right? To try and open, but they have to. I used to say to them, just keep trying the doors, see what's on the other side. Have a look through that door, have a look, and then eventually you'll find the right door. You'll find the door that you want to go through. And,
exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I think when one door may be shut temporarily, maybe it'll open again if it's the right door, right? And trusting in those, in moving forward. And I just know that you've made a big difference. So thank you so much. Please stay on the line because I want to talk to you behind the stream and to thank you personally. And is there anything else you'd like to add, David?
No, just how proud I am now to be a part of Stigma-Free Society. I mean, it's a risk of stating the obvious. I've really been taken since I first encountered the work that you're doing, and now that we're doing. I'm such an advocate, and I just want to see us go from strength to strength, because what we're doing is really valid work.
Thank you so much. And we'll continue to work together to bring this to as many schools as possible. And yeah, we really appreciate you being on our board of directors and being so supportive. So much gratitude to you.
Thanks, Andrea.
Okay. All right. So please stay on. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Please check out our Student Mental Health Toolkit. Just as I said it, www.studentmentalhealthtoolkit.com. We would love if you would share our resource. Any schools, teachers, school counselors watching, we would really love to bring in our virtual presenters into your school, share our documentary series with you, and we just want to make a difference. We believe in awareness, understanding, and the acceptance of ourselves and other people. So thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.